Hello everyone, I am Amanda Green and now I'm going to talk to you about my favorite childhood book. This is actually a book that I did not read in my childhood, but it's a good children's book that I would recommend for parents to add to their child's library or teachers to use as read-alouds. I was exposed to this book through my student teaching experience. We had to do a Patricia Polacco author study, and this was one of the books that we weren't required to use, but was given to us. And I ended up using it just as a read aloud, and it was extremely moving. And that book is The Junkyard Wonders. It is a book about differences, and a lot of Patricia's books are about differences. I haven't read a whole lot of them, but from what I've read about them and the ones that I have read, the main character in most of the books, not all of them, but most of them is modeled after Patricia herself. She creates a character that kind of represents her younger self. She writes a lot from experience, and this book is about this little girl. She's new to a school in a town, and she is worried because she's behind in reading, and she's always been put in like what she calls the lower class, or like a class that makes you feel less than, and she is excited for a fresh start. She knows one girl. She thinks it's going to be a good year for her, and she's really upset when she finds out she's in the junkyard class. And if you ask someone, where's this class, and they say, oh, you're in the junkyard, you instantly would think of, junkyard has a bad connotation. It has a connotation of, being trash and throwaways. And so she was instantly a little bit hurt about it. And she goes over to the junkyard and meets other kids, and she instantly realizes that, this is the class that I was hoping to avoid in a way. And the teacher is Mrs. Peterson, and she strives to teach the kids that, they aren't trash and they aren't throwaways. And what I really like about the book is the illustrations are extremely detailed. It's not a heavy read. It's a heavy topic, but the language that the author uses is pretty simple. She does give a little insight about some of the characters, saying one of them has diabetes, one of them, the main character, has a reading disability. She says, behind in reading, I don't read too well. In another book, you find out, I'm pretty sure, that she has dyslexia, but they don't even bring that word into this book, which I enjoy because then more kids can relate to this character. By her just saying, like, I don't read too well, more kids can relate. You lose that relatability once, you say she has dyslexia. Another character, like I said, has diabetes, one is selective mute, and one grows really tall and very quickly, and they don't really know why. They might describe a couple other characters, but they don't use the term selective mute either. They just say she never talks. They do say diabetes, but the author does use the word diabetes, but you can explain that to your class, or if they do not know what diabetes is, most kids do know. And if a child's reading the book by themselves, it doesn't really hinder their comprehension of the book if they're not entirely sure what diabetes is. But like I said, there's that level of relatability which I really enjoy in this book. Every child has something that's different about them that they struggle with, or some of it's academic, some of it's medical, and I think every child can relate to that to some level. I know when I was reading it, I immediately related due to my medical issues, or not issues, but differences, I guess. But they don't let that be the focus of the book, which is amazing. It's not all about how it's hard and we overcome it, and that she twists it in a different way where, the teacher brings them on this field trip to see the junkyard. To see the junkyard. And you have to read the book to find out, the exact moving speech that she gives them. She talks about how they're, at the beginning, about how they're geniuses, and then she takes them to the junkyard later, and, really teaches them that you're not trash, you're not throwaways. You should be proud of who you are. And that's not where the book stops. The kids continue to work together in what's called a tribe, and you'll have to read to find out how they get their tribes and what a tribe really is. to accomplish goals, and they have to create something. And it's a pretty cool project, and they have to be able to work together. And through working together, they learn about strengths and weaknesses and how they all can bring something to the table. There's a really sad event that happens in the book, and it's really interesting to see how these students overcome it and their way of dealing with the situation, and by coming together and doing something special for this situation. So you have to read on to find out what the situation is, and how exactly Miss Peterson makes the kids see their worth. Thank you for listening, and the adventure continues.